You talked about, expressing all these different emotions and pouring yourself into the character, and I would imagine that that takes a huge emotional, spiritual, and physical toll, on your body, right? Let's say you've done a 2 to, let's say, 5 hour session. What are some of the ways that you decompress from a practice or an intense voice acting session? And I'm curious to know, like, if there's a routine that you always follow, similarly to how you mentioned the routine for preparation. Do you have a routine to decompress from practice or a voice acting session?
It's really tough. I don't know if I have like a set thing that I follow every time. It depends. Like if I was in studio, then I would just have like a very long drive home afterwards, in which I would probably drive in silence because I needed to rest my voice, or just like lightly hum something just to kind of like warm down the chords. But at home, I guess nowadays for me, it's stretching, getting out, and going outside, looking out my window, looking at the sun, um, just to kind of look at something that's not a screen. I feel like that's how I kind of rejuvenate myself.
Does a lot of it have to do with trying to let your mind wander a little bit, right? Because you mentioned looking out in the sun, looking at other things, right? Is it because maybe, it's so focused on trying to become, a certain role or archetype, right? That like you have to kind of be formless in a way and put yourself in situations that allow you to not necessarily have to embody something.
That's a really nice philosophical way to put it, but I would agree. Yeah, it's nice to kind of just like take a moment to kind of like take that skin off and just kind of relax and take a moment to just kind of let that go. And yeah, mainly it's also just kind of like nice to get out and not be in a tiny boxed in room.
Right. Or in the car, right? If you're going to a studio session, you got to drive through what I'm assuming is like LA traffic or Southern California traffic. And it's not necessarily like you're stretching and you can do full body stretches in traffic, right? Like I'm sure there's an element of like a physical like release that probably needs to be done, after a session.
I'm sure it's like like that for anybody. When you're leaving work, you're just like, all right, that's done. So I'm just gonna like compartmentalize that and have a moment to be myself and relax.